Cool.
Hello, I hope
Hello.
we're live.
Let's see. Yeah, it looks like we are.
Yeah, we can still see that there is no one connected, so we will wait a little bit more till you all connected, and then we will continue with our
Session.
session. We have the first one who's connected. If you feel like writing to us something, if you can hear us well and see us well as always, let us know, please. If we need to talk a little bit louder or something is not correct, please let us know right away, okay?
Yeah, guys, please, this is always very important, the beginning, so please just send us a message, send us like thumbs up, thumbs down, something just to let us know if you can hear us, if you can see us properly, if everything is all right, because we need to have this set up before we start the actual talking. So we need to know that you can hear us, that you can see us, and everything is working.
We already have 15, 16 people. So welcome everyone, thank you very much for connecting. If you could please let us know if everything is okay, if you can see us well, hear us well. If everything is okay, we'll be very... Okay, great. Thank you very much for your feedback.
Thank you. We'll try to speak a bit more louder, if it's possible.
Yeah, let's wait just like maybe 1 or 2 minutes, just so a little bit more people can connect. Meanwhile, all people that you are here, thank you very much for connecting as first ones. Tell us a little bit more how you're spending your lockdown, whether you are, well, if you are in the Czech Republic. If you are, let us know. Hope it's going well. I hope it's better than the last one. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're not in the Czech Republic, let us know as well how it's going in your country. If it's like bad, good. If it's getting better, how is it? And then we'll slowly get to the topic of today's live stream, which is permanent residency, both for EU citizens, which we'll touch like softly because it's for EU citizens, the permanent residence permit is kind of easy to obtain, but we'll mainly focus on the permanent residence permit for third country nationals, meaning people from outside of the EU. So we'll start in a second. We just want to give you a chance to join us, and we'll start in a couple seconds.
Yeah, Ramona, I don't know if you can hear us now. It seems so far that you're the only one who can hear us. I don't know if you, when you do it in the full screen, you can go like on the, I think it's a bottom right corner, and there is like where you can turn on the sound in case you didn't do that yet. Maybe this is the reason why you cannot hear us.
Yeah, I would like to tell you some funny story, but I don't have any now. Yes, I believe we have already over 20 people watching, so I believe we can start. So for those of you who joined us on time, so you don't need to wait any longer, and you're not disadvantaged, let's say, comparing to the people who will join us later.
Yeah. Hi Reina, just a little bit just a question. You're saying unmute. Was it a reaction to Ramona's comment, or was it a reaction to our comment? And now I realize that I'm asking you this now in case you can't hear us. It's totally useless. So if you can hopefully you all still can hear us. Ramona, let us know if you can hear us now too, okay?
Okay, so let's slowly start. Guys, as always, this session is here for you. So please feel free to ask your questions, write in the comments. I believe some of you also sent some questions to our Facebook page, to our Facebook Messenger before the live stream, so we'll be covering those as well. But if you have any questions, we're here for you today to answer those questions and to give you some insight. So please feel free to ask your questions in the comments, and we'll try to cover all of them. As always, we will start with the general information, with the rules, how to get the permanent residency, who qualifies, all this. and then there will be the main time for your questions. But of course, if you have questions during the kind of presentation or during our talking, of course, ask it as well. We'll try to answer right away.
Right, yeah, the reason I have my laptop here is because this is the only way I can actually see if you're commenting or sending a comment. So excuse my laptop, but this is what it is for. Also, sometimes you will see that we're looking somewhere else a little bit. It's because we're having a live stream on Facebook and we're having a live stream on Instagram. So that's why you can see sometimes there are questions that someone else is going to ask on Instagram, or like on Instagram someone is going to ask questions on Facebook. So that's why we'll be trying to cover all of those questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Have you introduced us yet?
Not officially.
Okay.
So please.
Great. So a lot of people already connected. So thank you very much for that. It's amazing. If you have been following us for a while now, you know that my name is Daria, this is Jan, and we are the owners of Move to Prague Relocation Agency and Your First Friends in Prague. And what we've been doing since the lockdown is that we're doing 90 minutes free live sessions with you guys on Facebook and Instagram, where we answer your questions about specific topics. Now, this one today is devoted to European Union non-European Union citizens and European Union citizens as well, those who want to apply for permanent residency in the Czech Republic. So this one is devoted to this. The last ones we had was, I think it was the business visa, it was for the temporary residency, it was about Brexit, it was about the coronavirus. There was a lot of different things. I think we're gonna have two more. Make sure if you go to our page and you go to events, you'll see there's gonna be one in December and the last one in January. One's gonna be about leaving the Czech Republic, what you need to do, and another one is,
I believe, general visa options.
yeah. So like, if in case you're not in the Czech Republic yet and you wanna come here, just general options about that. So make sure you go to our page, go to events, and just say that you're interested in the event in case you want to participate in future. It's going to be the same way. It's going to be on live on Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah, and you'll also get the recording of this, and that will be posted on our Facebook and I believe also on our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you very much all for connecting, and let's jump into the topic right away.
Yes.
Yeah. I guess there are no major news about the COVID right now, so we can jump right into the topic. So let's start with EU citizens and their family members. If you're an EU citizen and you want to live in the Czech Republic, or actually you've been living here for some time, you can apply for a permanent residence permit. Honestly speaking, it doesn't give you any not too many additional rights, because as an EU citizen you already have basically the same rights as Czech citizens, but the permanent residency might be good in times like this, because it allows you to travel better during lockdowns. Also, for example, now with Brexit, it's pretty actual topic. Citizens of the UK living in the Czech Republic who are holding the permanent residency should be completely fine whatever happens with Brexit. Other Brits living in the Czech Republic, either with a temporary residence certificate or even without that, might face some difficulties. No one knows yet, because no one knows what will happen at the end of the year, but definitely the people having permanent residence in the Czech Republic, even EU citizens, then they should be safe whatever happens. So hopefully no one will be leaving the EU anytime soon again, but that's probably one of the reasons to have the permanent residency as well. It gives you some additional voting rights. So for EU citizens, that's not that super important topic, but it's still good to know about it, and it's still good to have it if you have the chance to get it. But this is especially important for family members of EU citizens. We'll cover the required documents in a second, but if you are an EU citizen and you have a spouse or partner or kids or someone closely related to you who is non-EU citizen, then the permanent residency might be very important thing for them. We've covered the topic of the temporary residence permit, the partnership visa for partners of EU citizens in one of the previous live streams. So we'll cover the permanent residency, which is the next step in today's live stream. So, documents you need. or maybe the prerequisite is, if you're an EU citizen and you want to get a permanent residence status in the Czech Republic, there are some conditions you need to meet. But basically the main one is that you need to be residing in the Czech Republic for 5 consecutive years. There should be no gaps, so meaning you lived here for 2 years, then you left for 2 years, and then you came back. In that case, it would not really apply. But if you've been staying here for 5 years in a row, then you can apply for the permanent residency. It's actually not required to have the temporary residence certificate first. You can apply for the permanent residence permit even if you don't have the certificate of temporary residence, but you need to be able to prove that you have really been living here the 5 years. And that can get pretty complicated in some cases, because I guess you already know that EU citizens do not really need any official purpose to live here. You don't need to work here, you don't need to run business, you don't need to study. If you just like the Czech Republic as an EU citizen, you can live here and you don't really need to do anything like super official. So many people come here just to live here, and they spend here a couple of years, and then they realize that they've been here long enough to apply for the permanent residency, but it might be difficult to prove that they have really been living here the whole time, because the Ministry of the Interior, where you apply for the permanent residency, does not really accept everything as a proof of like actually living here. So let's go through the documents you need, and we'll cover this aspect of that as well. Do you want to add anything?
You covered everything so far.
All right. So I'll just refresh myself.
Yeah, I don't know if you mentioned that, but what we're also gonna do, if you want to, you can send us your email address on the chat or like on our page, and we can also send you the links to the documents, what you're gonna need to apply in order to apply for the permanent residence. You can find these documents at the Ministry of Interior website, but sometimes it's not very clear there, although they're doing a great job, but sometimes it's not that clear. So if you leave us your email in the chat, we'll be glad to send you the list of documents and some additional information for the application for both European Union and non-European Union citizens.
Yep. All right, so if you're an EU citizen, you've been living here for 5 years and you want to apply for the permanent residency, what documents do you need? First, you need an application form, but that's simple, nothing too complicated about that. You need to have your passport, that needs to be valid, that's the only requirement for that. You need to have one passport size photo, you need to have a proof of accommodation, which usually is your lease agreement. And then the last thing is that you need to prove that you've been living here for 5 years. If you have the temporary residence certificate, then it's easier because the ministry has all the records and they should not request any additional documents. They still can, but it should be easier. If you don't have the certificate of temporary residence and you have been living here for 5 years, you can still apply for the permanent residency, but you need to prove that you've been really living here. And what it means, how to prove it. Basically, simply said, you need to have some documents from some official state authority, governmental authority, like Social Security or the public health care, maybe tax office, something where you've been contributing and there is a record of you like every month sending some money, simply put. Because we've seen cases where like the person was living here for 5 years, but they didn't really need to work because they had enough money or they had income from, I don't know, the UK or from the country of their origin, so they did not really need to work here. But they have the lease agreement for 5 years, like since they moved here. Some of them I believe even had like a Czech wife, but the ministry denied those applications, saying that the fact that you have a lease agreement doesn't mean that you actually live here, which is kind of strange, strange thing to say, but for the ministry it's not really approved, because it's kind of true that you can have a lease agreement, you can like rent an apartment and then sublet it to someone else, use it as an Airbnb, use it for business or something like that. So it kind of makes sense. On the other hand, it doesn't. But simply put, the ministry doesn't see the lease agreement as a definitive proof that you've been living here the whole time. The same with the wife, because this is like a real case, because the guy had a wife, I believe even a Czech kid, and again the ministry said that, yeah, that's great, but it's not a proof that you've been living here. You can have your wife here, but you can live somewhere else. So you need to have something proving your physical stay in the Czech Republic. Usually what we submit, if you're employed here, then all the employment contracts from the beginning of your stay, all the lease agreements from the beginning of your stay. If you're self-employed, then we usually submit some confirmation from the Social Security showing that you've been paying constantly for 5 years your self-employed contributions to the Social Security. You can submit the same thing from the health insurance, from the public health insurance companies. Anything else actually which will prove your physical stay, so I don't know, gym membership and like everything you can show.
Yeah, the most common one is actually the insurance. So if you've been working here, for example, been self-employed, in some cases you can just request a confirmation from the Visit P or OZP office, depending on the insurance you have. Just go there, it's like a simple paper, it will state since when you registered and then it's still valid. Or your last working contract, you probably already said that, so your last working contract, sometimes your lease agreement, so all of these things. They sometimes even say if you have a temporary residency certificate, it's not enough either. So yeah, it's usually like things that will prove that you like physically stay here. Or payments with social insurance. Yeah. Yeah, just a question right now for this. I pay for Visit B your yearly, is that okay? Now it's a question. So do you mean Visit B or do you mean Visit B? Are you having state governmental insurance? Are you employed here? What is your nationality? Or do you mean you have private insurance? That's the question. If you can give us a little bit more detail on that.
Yeah, because if you pay yearly, it kind of indicates that you have the private health insurance for some reason, and that would not really be a proof of you being here because it's not paid on monthly basis. You can buy it and move somewhere else, which is kind of strange thing to do. But probably if you buy it yearly, if it's the private health insurance, not the public, probably it would not be enough. But of course, let us know more about your situation, and we'll be happy to elaborate on that.
Yeah. We have another question. Is there a way, from Reina, is there a way they can prove that all the info you provide is true? I'm sure they can check. You mean if you provide them with the information, if they can check if it's true or not? It depends on the information. Usually, generally, they're quite lazy, but yes, they can check most information. They can actually check because they have their own process and they can actually check it. If, for example, if we are like if you provide that you've been going to gym for the last 5 years and have some confirmation, I don't know if they can check that. They can reach out to the gym and ask them, and then yes, but it depends how lazy they are. Of course, if you provide like working contracts, or you provide, especially if you provide confirmation that you've been paying insurance, this is for sure the information they can check. But there is the question how lazy they are. Like, to be frank with you, it's a matter of case from a case. Sometimes they would check it, sometimes they wouldn't, but usually I think they have a way to check it anyway.
Yeah, many of the processes in the Czech Republic related to visas and related to everything, basically to the governmental offices, it very much depends on the person who's making the decision. Because someone will not bother checking, they will just check whatever you gave them and like make the decision based on that. Some people will like really dig deep and will contact all your employers and like the gym and everything, and they will check everything carefully. So it very much depends on the person. We would definitely not recommend like lying or using some fake documents. Of course, it could work out. If you just like change something in a PDF form and you print it, it looks like the original, whatever. Most likely it will work out. But if the ministry finds out, it could be like a serious problem for you, because it would be basically a fraud, and you could get into serious trouble for that. So definitely, we don't recommend like using any fake documents or some like lying or using documents which are not true or not correct. But besides that, some things they can check, some things they cannot check. Especially the governmental offices. If you provide some confirmation from the Social Security, they can easily check it. They can get in touch with them and they can request the information from them directly.
Yeah, so we have some more information. Yeah, private visit B. I live in Prague, having moved from the UK but without income from CZ. You can try. You can try. Maybe in your case, if you've been renting maybe a flat, you have some lease contracts, you can try with them. You can try with the lease agreements too, together with the health insurance. Yeah, I think you can try. Actually, you can try with the private one too, from the last years. Yeah. Try also to submit maybe lease agreements for the last 5 years.
Yeah, you have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
If you have the temporary residence certificate, you can submit the permanent residence application, and if you're lucky, or if they don't check it carefully, or if they don't care, then you can get it approved, and that's great. If they check it and they don't like it, they don't believe you, then you don't lose anything basically. You will still keep the certificate of temporary residence, and that's it. So definitely try, but if you're...
I don't know if you have a certificate of temporary residency. Yeah, for sure you can try. I mean, like, it doesn't mean that even if they don't approve it, you can apply again, or you can, write an appeal on the decision. So you can for sure try and ask and apply with your private insurance and maybe a lease agreement.
Yeah, anything else you can get together to prove that you've physically been here.
Yeah, guys, you also are sending us a lot of questions, which is great.
Yeah.
How many documents do we have left for the...
We've done everything for EU citizens.
Right.
Now they're family members.
Okay, maybe we can go with the questions. We have quite a few questions.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah?
Sure.
Great. So, we have the first question we're gonna answer is Puput. We already answered in the chat, so just one more time. How long do you think a permanent residency process can take generally? So I already put it in the chat. Officially, they have 60 days to process permanent residency both for European Union and non-European Union citizens. How long it takes, nobody knows. But they don't really, like, it depends on the case. It depends actually how many documents to submit. It depends how many evidence that you live here for some time you provide. I just had a client from Japan and he could approve in like 3 weeks, which is very fast.
Yeah.
But sometimes people wait for like months and months and months. But what you can do, in case it takes more than 60 days, you can write an official letter to the ministry asking them to speed up the process. Make sure you don't write this letter before that day, so 60 days after you applied, after they received your application. Make sure you don't contact them before, then they can even give you a fine for that, and it will not look good in your application. So wait patiently 60 days, and in case you know like that your application is 100% right, there's no way they could
Find any problems there or something. Yep.
Yeah, you can for sure write them a official letter asking to speed up the process. Yeah, hopefully it answers your question. It will depend. Unfortunately, with the ministry, it depends who takes your application in hands. It could be some very proactive person who will just take a look at it right away, like check everything and it's gonna be okay. It could be someone very slow or like swamped with work. So it really depends.
Yep.
Hopefully it answers your question. Yeah. So, we have quite a long message from Susan K. If a former Czechoslovakia citizen moved to the US in the early 80s and became a US citizen, but now wants to move back to Czech Republic, what documents would we need to possess US passport? Would they automatically get a double citizenship for both US and Czech Republic? It's a more complicated question than just a question of the permanent residency. It would be the best probably if you wrote us a message with a little bit more details.
Yeah, definitely. This is slightly different topic. It's also kind of complicated, but in general, if it was like you or the person who will be applying now for the citizenship, it would be good to have documents which can prove it. So your birth certificate from Czechoslovakia or your previous Czechoslovakian passport or something which can prove that you really were Czech citizen, let's say. Because without that, if you don't have anything to prove it, it might be pretty difficult to get the citizenship back. As for the dual citizenship, Czech Republic allows that, so you can have both the Czech and US citizenship. So you don't need to reject or like give up the American one if you want to get a Czech one.
Yeah, it would be the best to just drop us a message, maybe write a little bit more details, so we could tell you exactly, exactly what process or procedure, what steps you need to take. But yeah, I think you can first you would get a thing from residency and then you could get citizenship. But again, just drop us a message and we'll tell you a little bit more about that.
Yep.
What else? Let's see. Thank you so much for so many questions. So great. Great. We have a question from Nafis. I have been living since October 2016 as a student. I finished my study in February 2019. Then I applied for the employee card. One application was approved in November 2019. Can you please confirm how many total years would be considered for the permanent residency in this case? Also, at the same time of study, I have worked full time. Do you think it will give any benefits? It's a very good question. It's a question we're gonna cover in our next part for the non-European citizens, because for sure you know that student years are counted as half. So we'll get to it in a second.
Yep.
Let me see.
We'll answer the question later.
Yeah. Then Reina also had a question. And what if there are some gaps, not because you love the country, but because you were unemployed for some month?
Yeah, in that case, if you have been living here the whole time and there were gaps just because of like you didn't have a job, for example, then there are still some limits. So you can either wait a bit longer. So if you know that there was half a year gap, then you can wait for like reaching 5.5 years and you can apply then. Or you can apply anyway and just try to explain it to the ministry. Maybe get some confirmation. If you're unemployed and you registered with the labor office, for example, then get some confirmation from them that you were registered as unemployed. And that could be okay. Or just like submit the documents you had and your lease agreements and everything, and hope that either no one will notice or that they will understand the situation. For non-EU citizens, there are also some rules that you can even spend some time outside of the Czech Republic and it will still be counted towards the 5 years of permanent residency. Not sure if there are any rules like that for EU citizens, but definitely if the reason the gap was because of unemployment, definitely if you registered with the labor office, get confirmation from them. If not, then either wait a bit to cover the gap period, or just apply anyway and you'll see. If the ministry requests some additional documents, you can always submit the lease agreements or some explanation that, okay, I lost my job but I didn't move back to, I don't know, France or the UK or something, and I was still here. Yeah. Hopefully this.
Yeah, or either just write an affidavit, just a small statement that you swear that you, between this job, that you were staying here and finding a job. Because an affidavit, not just an explanation letter, but actually a sworn affidavit, when you will sign it and provide to the Minister of Interior. So it's also going to be an official document.
Yeah, of course it depends on how long were the gaps. Because if it was like you had a job for 1 year and that you had 1 year gap, that would be probably a bit more complicated. If you had a job and then you had like 2 months gap and then you had another job and then like 1 month gap, that's of course a different story, and the ministry should understand that you probably didn't move out from the Czech Republic for 1 month and then didn't come back. If there was a like 1 year gap, that might be a bit more difficult to prove.
Yeah. Dina is asking which are the requirements for permanent resident from non-EU countries. We'll get to it just now, excuse me. Then Alana is asking, if I have a flat in property in other city but I rent it, can I apply for permanent residency with this address, provide an apartment purchase agreement? Yeah, officially it's better to provide the address you actually are staying. So you always have, the minister always has to see where you actually registered and where you're staying. But yes, technically it is possible. Just make sure you have your name on your mailbox so they can actually send you letters and you can actually see that you are able to receive mail there.
Yeah, there is one important thing about this as well, that if you, for example, live in Prague like physically live here, you rent an apartment here, but you own a property in Brno, for example, in some other city outside of Prague, and you use that address for your application, you can do that, that's fine, but you will need to apply for your residence permit in Brno, because the flat is there, and then you fall officially under the branch of the ministry in that place of residence. So that might be a slight complication. If it's like close to Prague and you still fall under like or I don't know if you mentioned that you live in Prague, but if it's close to where you physically live, then it's fine. You will probably go to the same branch of the ministry and that will be okay. But if the property is in some like other part of the Czech Republic, you will need to submit the application there.
Okay. Let us know if it's clear enough. Yeah, there's so many questions I don't even. Yeah. Okay. Will owning a property automatically give us non-EU permanent residency in Czech Republic? Erin is asking. No.
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 Simple answer.
No. The only thing that can grant you is a 90 days visa every 180 days in order to come and visit your flat. In case you're not from the visa-free countries who have 90 days free in the Schengen area. So that's the only one you can apply for. If you own a property, you can come here every 90 days to visit it.
Yeah, the Czech Republic doesn't really offer. Czech Republic in general is very protective, and we don't really offer anything like this. I believe is like how it works in Spain, for example, that you buy a property above some price limit and you automatically get a residence permit. It's not the same here. Owning a property will help you in the way that you will have one less document to provide when you're applying for some residency or some visa, but it will not grant you anything automatically, unfortunately. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Quick question: how many days could be spent out of 5 years? Molly is asking. Depending again if you're European Union citizen or not. If you're a third country national, I just had it open here. If you just give me a second, I just saw it somewhere. If you're they don't really give any information on that for European Union citizens, but I think they do for third country nationals.
Yep. There are some rules because some periods of time count automatically towards the 5 years. So there is some amount of day you can spend outside of the Czech Republic. Also, if you're, for example, pregnant and you give birth, those days, and if you need to go to the country of your origin and spend like give birth there and spend some time there after giving birth, that also counts. There are exceptions like that, but we will find the exact information if you give us just a second.
I just saw it, sorry, I just saw it a second ago.
Hele to po 5 letech, když půjdeš nahoru.
Jo, super, díky. Okay.
Okay, to tady jsem se období tady.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sorry. This is better because we don't keep all this in our minds, so it's better to tell you the exact number. Sorry for the wait. We've already found it, so we'll tell you exactly.
Okay, so the period of absence of foreigner in the territory during the residence according blah, blah, to some law, it's not exceeded 310 days in its summary, and if one of the period of absence of foreigner was not longer than 12 months consequently from serious. The English translation is very bad. So basically, not more than 310 days or not more than 12 months. I think.
I believe you cannot stay. One stay outside of the Czech Republic cannot be longer than 6 months, and it cannot be more than 310 days in total. So you can leave for half a year, then you can come back and leave for another, I don't know, 3 months, and then again, but only up to 310 days in total. We can share this actually maybe to the chat.
So I will share the link to the ministry so you can see there are different cases there. So try to look into that. I shared the article in English. Okay. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, something weird,
Okay,
is,
good.
weird is happening there.
Yeah, there are a lot of questions about third country nationals applying for permanent residence, about the exam, about how to prove it, which documents you need. We'll get to it just now because this is our next topic. I'll just see if there's any more questions regarding. Okay, again for non-EU citizen.
Yeah, so maybe I will finish the topic of the EU citizens and their family members, and then we can like jump directly into those non-EU questions.
Yeah.
So if we covered the part of EU citizens and proven 5 years of being here on all this, but if you have the so-called partnership visa, the temporary residence permit as a family member of an EU citizen, meaning that, for example, you are from the US, but you have a husband or wife from the Czech Republic or from some other EU country living in the Czech Republic, there are slightly different rules for you than for EU citizens. For example, you can apply for the permanent residency even after 2 years of living in the Czech Republic if at least one of those 2 years you've been a family member of an EU citizen. So to put it like understandably, you live in the Czech Republic for 2 years and 1 year of that you're married to a Czech citizen, or you date a Czech citizen, for example. So 2 years in total, 1 year of that must be relationship to an EU citizen living in the Czech Republic. And another rule there, or the only rule there, is that it needs to be a Czech citizen or an EU citizen holding a permanent residence permit in the Czech Republic. And then you, as a third country national, holding the partnership visa, the temporary residence permit for a family member of an EU citizen, can apply for the permanent residency even after 2 years of being here. If you're a family member of an EU citizen and you're applying for the permanent residency, the only additional document, or like the thing you will need to prove in addition to all the documents we discussed, like the application form, passport photos, proof of accommodation, proofs of being here for 2 years or 5 years, the only extra thing you will need to provide is, again, the proof of you being a family member of an EU citizen. So when you were applying for the partnership visa, you had to provide photos of you being together, some statements from you, your family members, or a marriage certificate. Right? It's a lot of talking. So you will need to provide those documents again, showing that you are still a family member of an EU citizen. And it's also more likely that the ministry will invite you for an interview. Because they usually don't do it for the temporary residence certificate. They started doing it more often now, but it's not like a rule that they do it every time. For the permanent residency, they usually do it for all the couples. So when applying for the permanent residence permit as a family member of an EU citizen, you need to be ready to face the interview, where they will ask you questions about your relationship. They will ask you and your partner separately about your favorite colors and what you did on the last Valentine's Day, and questions like that to prove that you really have been in relationship.
Yeah, I really disagree with you on that. Not every time on permanent residency people get invited for interview, but it's more likely it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. But it's not really the case. Sometimes I even had clients who didn't have a visit from the foreign police when they applied for permanent residency.
Okay.
So it's not. I don't think it's. I think it's more likely they would invite you for interview, but it's not 100% sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. So that was the EU and their family members part. Let's see if we have maybe some more questions about that. If not, then we'll jump right into.
Yeah, we have a lot of questions from non-EU citizens. So I think we can jump on that. Yeah, I can understand that because there are more things to submit when you apply as a non-European citizen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go for it. So, if you're a non-EU citizen and you've been living in the Czech Republic in general for at least 5 years, again, continuous stay with no gaps there, meaning that you didn't have like a visa for 1 year, then you left, then you had another visa for 1 year, then you left. So it needs to be 5 years of continuous stay. So after 5 years, you can apply for a permanent residence permit in the Czech Republic. There are some like exceptions, and Daria already mentioned students counted as half. We'll get to it, but in general, after 5 years of being here, you can apply for the permanent residency. For people from non-EU countries, it's basically like life changer or game changer to get the permanent residency. Because before that you need to extend your visa like every year or every 2 years, and it's always a lot of paperwork and it's a stress and process and everything. Once you get the permanent residence permit, you're basically good for good. I usually give such example that if you have a long-term visa or long-term residence permit and you kill someone, you will go to jail in your country, in the country of origin. If you have the permanent residency, you do something like that, you will go to jail in here.
Yeah, I don't think that's true though. I think you can go to the Czech jail even if you have a visa here. Depends where you commit the crime.
Yeah, but the point is that it's like a really strong type of residence permit, and it's very difficult for the government to take it out from you. So basically, it would be very difficult to kick you out from the country, unless you really committed something like serious or you, I don't know. It's like it's a game changer. You can stay here for forever. Basically, you have a free entry to the labor market, so you can get employed the same way as EU citizens. You have many more rights, so that's definitely like the goal. If you plan on staying in the Czech Republic for a long time, permanent residency is definitely the first goal. And also, permanent residency is one of the prerequisites for applying for citizenship. So if you're aiming to get a Czech citizenship, you definitely need to get a permanent residency, because without that you cannot get the citizenship. Anything to add? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so now what do you need? What documents do you need for the application? You need application form. Again, that's simple, nothing complicated about that. Passport, simple. You need to have one passport size photo, and then you need to prove that you have high enough income. So it depends on if you're employed or if you're self-employed, what documents you will be providing. If you're employed, it's easier, because you basically just need to provide your employment contract and say the last 3 salary slips showing that you've been employed there. You of course need to meet some minimum requirements, but as long as you have at least the minimum salary allowed in the Czech Republic, you should meet the criteria with no problems. So that's the easier option. If you're self-employed, if you run a business, if you own a company here, you will need to prove that you've been making enough money as well. Usually you prove it by submitting your last tax return and your last, or like the confirmation of payments to the social security system and to the healthcare system if it applies to you. Then the ministry does some calculation and they will evaluate and say if it's, or tell you if it's like enough or not enough. So you need to be very careful about doing your tax return right in case you want to apply for the permanent residency if you're a self-employed person, because the tax return, if it's done correctly, it will very much help you with the application. If it's not done correctly, it could very much hurt the application. So this is the proof of income. If you have any questions about that, please ask and we can go deeper in that topic. You need to prove your accommodation, so you will need to submit the proof of accommodation, which can either be your lease agreement or the proof of accommodation form for the landlord to sign. And then one or maybe 2 actually differences between the non-EU and EU permanent residence permits are those that as a non-EU citizen you need to pass a language exam, Czech language exam, and you need to have a certificate of passing the exam to apply for the permanent residency. Good thing is that as of now it's pretty low. The level of Czech required is pretty low. I believe it's like A1 even.
I think someone actually was asking about that.
Yeah, so I believe for the permanent residency as of now it's A1 required, so like a basic conversation. They might increase the level with the next change of the law, because there should always also be from the next year there should be a new part of the immigration law becoming effective that all the foreigners applying for a long-term residence permit or permanent residence permit will need to go through some integration course. So they might, along with that, they might also increase the level of Czech required, but as of now, it's just like really basic conversation, usually like around A1. And second good thing about it is that the Ministry of the Interior can actually give you a voucher, so you can do the language exam for free one time. If you don't pass the exam, then you have to pay yourself. But for the first try, they can give you a voucher for that.
Yeah, we had a question about that. Let me just take a look at it very quickly.
Yeah, I just briefly say the second difference between the non-EU and EU. The difference is that as a non-EU citizen, you also need to pay 2,500 crowns fee for the ministry in those revenue stamps, as you're used to from all the long-term residence applications.
Yeah, it was actually a question from a while. I'm not sure if you mentioned it as I joined. What is the Czech language exam level for permanent residency? A1, is it planned to be higher than A2? It's exactly what you said. Yep. Yeah, currently it's A1. It might increase. Nobody knows yet. Yeah.
But honestly, like if you've been living here for 5 years, you should be able to pass the exam, I believe. Like if you interact with Czechs and you try to at least like learn some basics, then it should be alright.
Yeah, while you were drinking, we had a question from Clara that you have temporary residence permit as a family member, European citizen. Is it true that you can apply in 2 years and not wait 5 years? That is true. If you can apply for permanent residency in your case if your partner is Czech after 2 years of you living here, from which 1 year as a family member of European citizen. So yeah, that's true. And you will not need language exam because you are considered a European Union citizen partner. So hopefully it answers your question too.
Yep.
Would you like more questions or would you first like to?
Yeah, I believe I said everything I wanted about the document, so we can go through the questions, yeah?
Okay, great. So now we're getting to questions.
Yeah, but thank you very much for all the questions because
there's so many questions. So that's why it takes a little bit more to see what's going on. So we have a question from Marcio. Is the 5-year period of continuously living in Czech Republic a binding condition to request permanent residency? And what you cannot do without permanent residency concerning investment times, Czech Republic, purchasing real estate, etc. for not EU citizen? In 99% of cases, the 5 years period of continuously living here is a key requirement. But in the article we shared from the Ministry of Interior, there are more ways of how to request permanent residency if you are not a European citizen. So, for example, you can request it either after living here for 5 years. You can request it as if you have Czech origin. If you have European Union blue card holder, if you are European Union blue card holder, if we're talking about children born in the Czech Republic, if there is a family reunification. So there are more articles, there are more things on that. It's just general rule. If you don't have any special requirements, any special conditions, then it's usually 5 years or more, depending on which kind of residence permit you are staying here. As you mentioned before, student years are counted as half. But generally speaking, you need to stay here for 5 years, except for the exceptions. But I just shared this article in the chat. It's the article for the Ministry of Interior, and it's written there all the exceptions, so you can take a look there.
As for what you cannot do without having the permanent residency, it's kind of again a very general question because we don't know anything about your background, if you have any residence permit here or not. The thing is that if you don't get until you get the permanent residency, you always have some official purpose of stay, and it's kind of difficult to change it, and you always need to kind of stick to the purpose of stay. So if you, for example, have a business visa and then you go to a business residence permit, and you just keep extending the business residence permit and you never apply for the permanent residency, you will basically never be allowed to get employed in the Czech Republic. You could, of course, switch to the employee card, for example, but that would be already changing the purpose of your stay, and there is some process behind that. But just to give you this one example, once you get the permanent residency, you can work freely. So if you want to work, you can work. If you don't want to work, you don't have to. If you want to be in one company for 3 months, then you go to a different company. There are no rules about that. If you, for example, only have the employee card, there are some limitations. You need to stick with your first employer for at least 6 months. You cannot switch to an employment agency, for example. So unless you reach the permanent residency, there are always some rules you need to follow. Once you get the permanent residency, you can kind of do whatever you want. No problem with buying a property in the Czech Republic or buying a company in the Czech Republic, investing here. You don't need a permanent residency for that.
Yeah, maybe you can get better mortgage rate for sure if you have permanent residency rather than having just long-term residency. That's for sure. Yeah, but otherwise it's like you were saying.
Yeah, it's also a bit easier to move within EU with a permanent residency, but yeah, from what you mentioned there, like buying a property or investing in the Czech Republic, there are not that many limitations.
Okay, so we have a question from Ibrahim. What are the benefits of Czech permanent residency for non-EU and other European state members regarding working and living there? If you have Czech permanent residency, you have the same rights as if you had long-term residency here. So it means that you can only stay in other Schengen countries, European countries for maximum 3 months, 90 days, and every 180 days as a tourist. Now, the only difference is that in case you decide to move somewhere and you want to apply for, let's say, some kind of working visa in some other country, let's say you move from here to Italy, and you have permanent residency. If you also have the status of a long-term resident of the European Union states, or European states, then you can also, when you arrive there, let's say to Italy, it will be easier for you to apply for the long-term residency, let's say in Italy, based on the fact that you have permanent residency or the status of a long-term resident in European states, countries, rather than if you didn't have one. So you will still, so to sum up, just having permanent residency doesn't allow you to work. Does it though?
It does, but only because it allows you to work there, but you cannot stay there longer than 3 months.
Yeah, that's what, yeah.
So you could work there in theory, but only for up to 3 months. And if you wanted to stay longer, you would anyway need to apply for their own residence permit.
Yeah, but if you wanted to stay for longer than 3 months, officially of course, then you would need to apply in that country. But the fact that you have Czech permanent residency and the status of a long-term resident, which you can also get together with the application for permanent residency, it will be easier for you to apply and stay in other Schengen European country.
Yep.
So hopefully it was clear enough. What are the requirements for permanent residency from non-EU countries like Colombia? I think we just mentioned that. Again, for everybody who just connected, in case you want to have a list of documents for non-European citizens and European citizens and some information how to apply for permanent residency, either leave us an email on the chat or drop us a message on our page with your email address, and we will send you the list and some additional information to that.
Yep. Yeah, thank you again all, because we are still close to 30 people watching us live the whole time, so that's great, and thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for asking all the questions. We are trying to answer all of them one by one. So sorry for the delays here and the gaps. We're just trying to go through everything.
I have a question from Hamdi Kirati. Hi, thank you for efforts. You're welcome. Please, I came to the Czech Republic September 2016, but they issued my work permit residence by June 2016. Should I count 5 years from June or from September?
It's kind of interesting that they gave you the card before you actually arrived. That kind of seems odd to me. So if you, in general, it should count from the moment when the card was issued. There is a date of issue, so they should count the 5 years from that date. So if you received the card, the employee card, before you actually arrived to the Czech Republic, which again is kind of strange, so maybe if you can shed some light on that, how that happened.
But it was in 2016. I think there were more work permits back then.
Yeah.
There was an
True.
employee card then,
Yeah,
or maybe
true.
it was like very, very freshly. But it was also, it's from the moment you physically arrived to the Czech Republic too, in case you don't have a 90 free stay, 90 days free stay in the Czech Republic. It's actually from the moment when you arrived on a long-term visa or long-term residency. So if you arrived in September, oh yeah, I see, and you work permit residence by June.
Yeah.
I think it's safer to count it from September, in my opinion.
Yeah, officially they should, if you got the card in June, they should count it from that, but definitely it will be safer to count it from September.
Yeah. Okay, another question from Wallet. Are there any legal restrictions of using the current address for the flat I'm renting in an application for permanent residency? Even if something like that was mentioned in the rental contract that I can't use the current address of the permanent one. It's a great question. It's a great question because after, I think in 2017, the civil law was changing.
I'm sorry.
And basically what's changed is that the landlord cannot anymore forbid you from having permanent residency address in that apartment. It doesn't matter if you're a foreigner, it doesn't matter if you're a Czech citizen. Even if it's written in the contract, they cannot forbid you from doing that because the law is above whatever contract you sign.
Yep.
So of course it's done between you and your landlord. But officially you can use this contract even if it's written there.
Yep.
Yeah, then we have question from Visit. From 2017 to July 2020, I had D99 other visa. Is it still calculated full years? Yes. Yeah, if you have other visa and type 99, it's calculated as a full year.
Yeah, only if you have the standard student visa or residence permit, usually 23 or 24 codes in your visa or the residence card, then it's counted as the half year.
Yeah. The next question from Mohammed. The new law will be applied for all the persons who didn't have or for newcomers to the country. As example, if I'm here since 2017, so expecting to apply 2022, so in case new law applied, I will be included, or it will be the persons coming of 2021.
Yeah, I believe that's what I was mentioning about the, how is it called?
I'm not sure.
The course.
Oh, the integration
course. Yeah, thank you.
Nobody knows yet.
Yeah, the thing is that when the law, the immigration law was changing, it was 2019, 18 already. There was this part that this part of the law will become effective, I believe, for starting from the 1st of January 2021. And that from that on, all the people applying for a new residence permit or permanent like long-term residence permit or permanent residence permit will need to go through the integration course. So it also means that if you have one, but you're applying for extension, or if you're changing your purpose of stay and all this, that you should still need to go through the course, also for the permanent residency. But the thing is that I believe that the law, we will need to double check this. So if I'm saying something which is not 100% correct now, let us know, or we'll also double check it. But if if this part of the new law becomes effective 1st January 2021, there is still no information about who will be providing the courses. They're also supposed to be paid, so you will have to go through that, which is given by the government, but you will still need to pay for it yourself. There is no like pricing for that. There is no information who will be providing the courses. There is actually no information about what the courses will entail. So no one actually knows what it will look like and if it will really become effective in the 1st of January 2021. So we will need to wait for this until the new year. But yeah, it was for all the new applications. So not only people coming to the Czech Republic for the first time, but also for change of like purpose of stay, or for the new permanent residence permit. Not sure about the extensions of the, for example, if you have an employee card, you'll be just extending it, if it will be counted as a new application or not. I would need to double check this, but definitely for changing of purpose and for new permanent residence applications, that should apply.
Okay. Said. Okay, I have 3 questions for today, Liv. Can we work in the European Union with permanent residency card of Czech? This is what we just covered. It seems that you sent it 12 minutes ago, so probably already heard our answer. You can work up to 90 days, but if you want to work long term in some other European country, you will have to apply in that country. If yes, should we have announced the new resident address in Germany, the Czech police, or not when we don't have any residence address in Czech anymore?
Well, you should always have some address registered in the Czech Republic. So even if you have the permanent residency, you should still always update the address. Definitely, you should not report the address in Germany because that's more of a concern of German authorities. Czech authorities do not really care about your address in Germany, but you should always keep your address in the Czech Republic recent and updated. So if you decide to move outside of the Czech Republic for good, you should either ideally have some place rented still anyway, or maybe give up the permanent residency because not updating the address, you could get some fine for that. So definitely you don't need to report the address in Germany, but you should always keep the address in the Czech Republic updated anyway.
Yeah.
What was the third question?
Oh yeah, sorry. For how long can we work outside of Czech, but instead of it with permanent residency card?
Yeah, we answered that just a second ago. If it wasn't clear or if we didn't understand the questions properly, let us know. We'll be happy to elaborate.
Yeah, a lot of questions concerning the Czech exam. Yeah, nobody knows yet. They usually the way the ministry announce things. It's not like from 2021 this and this is gonna be valid. They usually say from today this and this is valid. So it's really hard to say exactly how it's gonna be in some time.
Yeah, because one thing is exactly about this this integration course or the exam. Something is written in the law, but that's a general thing. All the foreigners will need to pass this exam, but all the specifics will be introduced by a different law, and they will be introduced later when all the details are known. So very likely, as Daria said, it will just be, hey, from today or from yesterday, actually this started to be effective, and we'll just need to adapt them.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Is it applicable to change the employer during applying for permanent residency? Are there any specific requirements?
Meaning that you have an employee card probably?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you have an employee card and you apply for the permanent residency, you will still, until you get the permanent residence approved, you will still be a holder of a long-term or of the employee card. So you still need to follow all the rules for the employee card. So definitely you first need to extend the employee card to make sure that you're legal, and for example, if the permanent residence application gets denied, that you still keep your employee card status. Second thing is that until you get the permanent residency approved, you should still follow the rules of the employee card. So you should report the change of the employer to the ministry, wait for their approval, and everything will be the same until you physically get the permanent residence.
Okay, we have a question from Will. Hello, just started watching. I'm English and live in the Czech Republic with my wife. I've been here since September 2018. Only recently married my wife. I have my temporary residency, but because of various delays, I didn't get it until February 2019. So even though I've been here for more than 2 years, I only have my residency for less than 2 years. I want to apply for my permanent residency, and I will be here living with my wife and son, born here. Will I need the language test, or can I just exchange for the permanent? I realize I have to provide some documents, but I have everything I need. Will I need to be married for 1 year? I've been married for 1 month. Also, I work in Germany. Will that be complicated after Brexit? I've been working in the same company since I moved here in 2018. I have all my contracts and I pay in pay slips. That's a very awesome question. Thank you for that.
Yeah, so let's maybe unfold it step by step. You work in Germany, so this fact actually might be a bit complicated because you need to prove that you've been physically living in the Czech Republic. And if you work in Germany, you probably cannot use the German contract or German salary slips to prove that you've been living in the Czech Republic. So that's the first thing there. Second, for the marriage, you need to be living here if she is Czech, because I don't know if your wife is Czech. If your wife is Czech, then you could apply for the permanent residency after 2 years of living here. First, you would need to prove that you've been living here really for 2 years, which might be difficult because of you working in Germany. And second thing, you would need to prove that you've been a family member of an EU citizen for at least 1 year. So the easiest way to prove it would be the marriage certificate, but if you've only been married for 1 year, that will not help much. So you would need to also prove that you've been in the relationship for at least 1 year, which probably you've been together for some time before you got married, so might be doable if you provide plenty of photos and statements and affidavits and some other proofs of traveling together. All this might be doable. But there are so many things that we cannot really promise it will work out. But anyway, if you're worried about Brexit, first, working in Germany, that will also depend on the relationship between Germany and the UK after the end of the year, because I'm not really sure if there will be any deal at all at the end of the year. So it will depend probably on either the non-deal scenario, or if there is some deal directly between Germany and the UK about this, like working in Germany. So it's not really a matter of Czech law. And yeah, where I was going with that, I don't know. Yeah, but anyway, you should be good, because if you have a Czech wife, if worst came to worst, you could always apply for a temporary residence permit as a family member of an EU citizen, so you'll be allowed to stay in the Czech Republic and work in the Czech Republic with no problems. As for working in Germany, as explained, it would depend on the Germany and the UK relationship. So hopefully this was... Or you have anything to add? Yeah.
No, I just maybe it's better in your case to drop us a message and we will take a look at it more closely, because there are a lot of factors, and also depends on which purpose you applied for the type of residency. It depends on a lot of things. So maybe it's better to just discuss your case individually.
Yep.
I think we answered all the questions.
Is that true?
And did we cover everything we wanted?
I believe so. We've gone through everything.
Okay. So, let us know if you have any more questions. We still would be hanging out here for a few more minutes. Let us know. We still have just maybe 10 more minutes to answer some additional questions. So if you have any, let us know.
Yep. If we maybe missed your question, shout out loud. Let us know. And thank you all. Thank you, Sai. Thank you, Clara. Thank you, Walid. Thank you, Visit. Sorry if I'm not pronouncing it correctly. Thank you, Edna. Thank you, Alana, Dagi, Dina. Thank you all for joining us, for asking the questions, because we are here for you. So we hope this is helpful, and it's really great to see that you're asking questions, because that means that you're really interested in the topic and that this is hopefully helpful to you. So we are really happy for that. Marcio, thank you very much. As well.
Yeah, a little bit of self-promotion, of course. If you want us to help you with the permanent residency, feel free to just drop us a message. Even if it's just a simple question, we'll be happy to answer you. Oh, we missed a question. Thank you. Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. I promise that we'll get back to that, and I say if we haven't. Thank you for reminding. So just to repeat, I have been living since October 2016. Write it down or something because it's complicated. As a student, I finished my study in February 2019. Then I applied for employee card, but the application was approved November 2019. How many total years should be considered for permanent residence in this case? Yeah, so at the same time, study, I have worked full time and pay taxes. It wasn't, no, unfortunately, this doesn't benefit anything. It's really, in your case, it's really the only thing that depends on the years. It's only how many years you spend here. So,
Yeah, so one question or one important thing, if your studies were accredited, so if you had the real student visa, the 23 or 24 code in your visa or residence permit, or if it was the other purpose of stay. Because if it was the other, then it would count as half, as a full year. If it was the student, real student visa and residence permit, unfortunately those 3 years, let's say 2016 to 2019, would only count as half, so like 1.5 years. And then all the years from when your employee card was issued would count as full years. So now you would basically have, if you had a student residence permit, then from 2016 to 2019 you would get 1.5 years.
And so because it's October to November.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's 1.5 years.
Yeah, 1.5 years, and then from the when was the
November 2019
was approved. So from then
so
you basically have 1 more year under the employee card. So you basically be at 2.5 years now, meaning you need 2.5 more years under the employee card.
Hopefully it's clear. But now your employee card years are going to be counted as 1 year.
Yep.
Yeah, oh, we actually have a few more questions just now. Yeah, thank you, Clara, for your comment. It's very nice. Question from Maras. Is the employee card similar to long-term residence with the code 27?
That's the same thing. Long-term residence, you always you basically have 3 types, or let's say 4 types of visas, let's say, or residencies in the Czech Republic. First is a short-term visa. We don't really deal with that. That's mainly used for like tourism or like short business trips, stuff like that. So that's a completely different thing. But one thing, short-term visas. Then you have a long-term visa, which always need to have some purpose of stay, like business or studies. Then after the long-term visa, usually you go to the long-term residence permit under the same purpose of stay. And then the long-term residence permit always must have some purpose of stay. So you can have a long-term residence permit with the purpose of stay business, you can have the long-term residence permit with the purpose of studies, and you can have the long-term residence permit with the purpose of employment, and in that case it's called the employee card. So the employee card is basically a long-term residence permit with the purpose of stay, employment, and the code in the card is 27. So if you have the long-term residence permit with the 27 code, it's the employee card.
Yeah, Valid has an addition. My company is going to be 2 different companies. How would that affect permanent residency application or even employee card? I believe you asked before if you can change your employer while applying for permanent residency, correct? I think it was your question. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I honestly must say that I'm not exactly clear about the question. Your company is going to be 2 different companies, so I guess they will be like splitting. Usually what happens is the other scenario, that there are 2 companies and they merge together. So if they split, you should still probably stay employed under one of the companies. And that should be alright in the worst case, because all those changes, if the company becomes 2, but I cannot imagine how that will exactly happen, but all those changes, all those official changes are visible in the business register. So if the ministry checks the business register and they will see that either companies merged or maybe got divided, then it should be okay. But usually when we did merges, it's better to let the ministry know. Just send them, your employer should send them a letter saying, we just want to inform you that our 2 companies will be merging together, we'll be changing the name, but the employment contracts stay the same and continue the way they were. So this is just to inform the ministry, because they could find out everything themselves when you're extending the employee card. But again, as we mentioned before, sometimes the workers at the ministry are lazy, sometimes I don't want to say that they don't know exactly what they're doing, but they maybe don't have experience with this particular thing. Because, for example, merging companies is a very specific case, and it goes under different laws and everything. So they might not be exactly experienced with that, and you might get into some trouble explaining that when you're extending your employee card. Okay, why is your employer now this if it was before this company? So it would be better to just inform them in advance. saying, hey, this is gonna happen or this is happening. We just let you know about it.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
It got so
Sorry, that's fun.
distracted. Okay, so the next question is, how long should be the accommodation contract for permanent residence application?
There is no limit for that. For example, for the long-term visa, the lease agreement will determine the validity of your long-term visa. For the permanent residency, it doesn't matter. It needs to be valid when you're submitting the application, and ideally should be valid also when approved. Because if you, for example, submit lease agreement which is only valid for 3 months, most likely the ministry will anyway request extension of the lease during the process, because if you only have, let's say they should be making the decision like 2 months after you apply. In that case, the accommodation will be only valid for one more month, and they would most likely request new proof of accommodation anyway. So it's better to have it, I would say, like a half a year or ideally a year, but there is no rule about that, like that you would need to have 2 years contract to get the permanent residency or anything like that.
Yeah, and we have another question from Marzio. You had a long-term residence permit for studies for 2 years, but also work part-time. Does this time count as 2 or half? It counts as half. If you had a student visa, even if you work, unfortunately only covers for a half.
Yeah, because it depends on the type of visa or residence permit you have, not on the fact if you work or not, or if you contribute to the system or not.
We have an interesting question. Hi Lorena, thank you for connecting. We're already finishing, but your question is interesting. I'm a food chemist. Can I find work in this field in Prague or other cities? I think you can. I think, like always, anything connected to like technical skills and chemistry is always very high profile jobs or very high demanded jobs. So for sure there is a central register of jobs you can look at for foreigners. If you're interested, write us a message and we'll send you a link, so maybe you can take a look if there is demand for your field.
Yeah, we also have a University of Chemistry and Chemical Technology, and they exactly have this field of studies there, food chemistry. So definitely there are jobs available. Yeah. Not sure if this is the answer.
This is not really a topic we're discussing today, but it was so interesting, so I just decided to.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think that's it. I think now we did answer all the questions. So let us know if you liked it, please. I think I didn't finish up my thought before that. In case you want some help, you want some assistance with applying for permanent residency, whether you're a European citizen, whether you're a British citizen, whether you're a family member of one, whether you're a non-European Union citizen, you can drop us a message. We'll be very happy to just give you some information for free, give you a list of the documents or some other things. And we can also send you our, the information, our services.
Yeah. If you need any assistance with that, we'll be happy to.
Yeah,
help.
if you take a look, I pinned in the comment, I pinned the blog, the article we wrote about permanent residency and everything. You can read about it, how to apply, which documents you have to have, just some general information. So take a look at this. Hopefully we covered everything there. In case you have any questions, drop us a message anytime. And thank you again for being so awesome and so
supportive to us.
So supportive, yeah, because we really enjoyed your time with you, and we'll be looking forward to seeing you soon next month and the month before that. Yeah, thank you too.
Yeah, thank you very much, Marcio.
Yeah, well, thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.